Welcome to PixelTunes Radio,
podcast where we have fun
talking about video games
and video game music.
I'm Mike.
And I'm Ed.
And this is episode 101, Free Pix Super Turbo Edition.
We're in the second century of PixelTunes Radio right now.
This is 20XX. So, we wanted to take a brief break after all the craziness from the past few episodes. We had a lot of really big stuff happen.
Spoiled you guys.
Yeah, I know. Episode 99, we did a two-part back-to-back episode. The first part, we had a ton of VGM podcast guests and, friends of ours on the episode where we did Spooky Tunes. And then we did a second part Spooky Tunes, which was episode 99 part 2. And then we did episode 100, which is filled with VGM composers wishing us congratulations on 100 episodes, as well as some of our past guests and fellow podcasters. So we really overloaded and we needed to downsize.
Yeah.
So
back to boring old free picks.
So we had to let Ed go. Unfortunately, we've replaced him with Robot Ed.
That's fine.
We hope you guys don't mind.
You just have to oil me every so often.
I'll oil you.
Lube me up.
Lube you up. Gross. So let's start off with some PixelChat questions.
As usual.
All right, so what's our first one?
First one is from Chris Murray. No, it's not from Chris Murray.
Oh,
this is unbelievable.
This is true.
Chris Murray, where have you been? Anyhow, this one's from Joe Dunbar, and he asks, what is your favorite Mega Man music that's not from Mega Man 2?
Mega Man 3. I don't know. There's so many. I'm really diving in lately to Mega Man 10's soundtrack. Initially when I played the game, I thought the music was definitely not top tier Mega Man music, but I've been going back and I've really been enjoying some of the tracks. Solar Man in particular, his level theme is amazing. So, yeah, Solar Man.
Cool.
Good stuff.
I'm not really that big of a fan of Mega Man the series.
Whoa, wait. You don't like Mega Man?
I think we've gone over this millions of times.
This is brand new news to me.
See, so
totally new.
That's not from Mega Man 2. Pretty much just excludes any experience I have with most of the music. I mean, I remember when we did our split Mega Man 2, Mega Man 3 episode. Mm-hmm. And I think I really remember liking Top Man's music.
Yes, yeah,
that was really good. Mm-hmm. So I'll just go with that as kind of like my default because I can't think of any Mega Man tunes off the top of my head.
I also want to add Mega Man Unlimited has some amazing tracks.
Oh, so you did go and play that? Yeah,
I did, and it is fantastic. And I'm not saying there's going to be a review of the game, but
I'm
saying there's going to be a review of the game. Anyways, moving on. Alex Messenger asks, do you guys like any modern day, I'm thinking someone who came into the video game industry in the last 15 years, composers? If you do, who? Yeah, Jake Kaufman?
Technically, yes.
Yeah,
well, his first game was in 2000, so that's 17 years.
That's stretching it, right. And then I was going to say Mick Gordon.
Yeah, he's the first name that popped into head for me.
Yeah.
Mick Gordon. Sasha Dikisian, for me, did the Quake 3 soundtrack, Mass Effect soundtrack, a bunch of that stuff. There's been a ton of people out there. It's actually one that we'll be getting into later on in the show that I don't want to spoil what's coming up in the show for those who don't like to be spoiled. So we'll talk about him in a little bit. He's a new favorite modern composer. Who else? It's tough because a lot of the composers that I like nowadays have been composing for a long time.
I don't really have a lot of composers that I follow that do multiple game soundtracks, like the Jake Kaufmans, the Mick Gordons, that are creating music nowadays that seems retro. And if I do, they're always one-off dudes.
Yeah.
Like
Matt Creamer obviously would be a modern composer in the retro style that we're both big fans of.
Yeah. I would say probably it's always going to be indie guys. You know what I mean? For the most part.
Well, because the AAA stuff is mostly orchestral. There's some stuff out there that is good. But Simon Viklund also comes to mind. He's a dude that did Bionic Commando Rearmed, but then he also did the Payday soundtracks, which I don't play those games personally, but Eddie does, my oldest son, and they sound very much like that very big beat techno style that Bionic Commando Rearmed is in. Mm-hmm. So I really dig those soundtracks. They don't really lend themselves too much to the show like Pixel Tunes because it's very drony, but I really enjoy that stuff.
Yeah. Final question.
Final answer.
Well, that was your cue to read the question.
As we approach Thanksgiving, any games in particular you find are regulars when family gathers? Big Buck Hunter on the Wii is a staple for us, and that was asked by Scott Mcelhone?
McKellen?
McElhone?
McElhone?
McKellen? McKellen? McKellen?
McKellen. Maybe.
Maybe?
I don't
Scott,
know.
You gotta let us know.
Yeah.
Do the
Sorry,
little phonetic
Scott.
pronunciation in the comments, please.
Thanksgiving. Huh.
Family gathering games.
With video games?
Yeah, I don't really do that either.
No.
I mean, usually my brother and my sister-in-law watch football, and we just kind of gather around and talk and stuff.
I usually watch football.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I usually watch football.
Yeah, it's funny because my brother and I are both big gamers, individually, but we don't really play games together.
Not anymore,
much.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime my brother comes over to play video games, it's always the same stuff. It's always like Mario Kart or Mario Party or something of the sort. So we really don't play that many video games together. That's just more along the lines of the stuff that we grew up with.
Yeah,
so.
my parents were both only children as well, so I don't have any aunts or uncles.
Oh, okay.
I have no cousins.
Yeah.
So when we get together, it's like my wife and I, my brother, maybe my sister if she comes down from Vermont.
Sure.
There isn't that many people to play with.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm kind of in the same boat. My family's relatively small. Most of my mom's side of the family is ostracized. They live in different parts of the country.
Norwegia.
Yeah, Norwegia. Waluigia. And my dad is an only child as well, so I have a lot of family members that aren't family members.
And this is why both of us love single-player games and don't care about online gaming.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, my brother he's 7 years younger than I am.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anybody growing up to play video games with. So, yeah, that's why I like single-player games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of single-player games,
why
don't we get into our first track?
Yeah, and also speaking of modern-day composers or modern-day games that are maybe a little bit retro, this is Battle Kid, Fortress of Peril on the NES. This is a homebrew game. Came out in 2010, and this track is Area 1, and it's by Sivak. Alright, welcome back. That was Battle Kid, Fortress of Peril, the 2010 NES homebrew release. This track is Area 1, and it's by either Sivak. We really couldn't figure it out.
Sivak. I've always pronounced it Sivak.
Right. I always called it Sivak. So.
Like the car.
Yeah, like the car. So, have you played this one?
I love this game.
Okay.
Actually, this was for a while. Me and Todd and our buddy Joe, who's asked a couple of PixelChat related questions, used to all get together at either my place or Joe's place and kind of collectively try to get through this game together.
Weird to me.
And we got pretty far. Well, because it's one of those games where it's it's like Mega Man style, but super duper difficult.
That's what I was going to say.
Meat Boy style.
Right.
You cross Mega Man and Meat Boy, and you pretty much have this game.
And I know you're not that crazy about Mega Man, so that kind of floors me.
Normally I wouldn't play this by myself, but because it was a social thing, it was a lot easier for me to play. It didn't bore me as much, and we each got to kind of get better and see the other person play. We didn't really care about dying because we were just drinking and having chips and stuff. So it was more of a social thing than trying to get through this awesome game with this awesome soundtrack.
Oh yeah, no, the soundtrack is great. It's about this character named Timmy. And Timmy.
I always think of you remember that show with dinosaurs?
Okay.
It was like a sitcom, and everybody was like
dinosaurs.
Yeah. And they had that like Mr. Wizard style, like, and his partner was named Timmy, and Timmy would always blow up.
Yep.
And so every time he blew up, he'd go, "We're gonna need another Timmy."
Right,
I always think whenever I hear Timmy,
okay,
we're gonna need another Timmy.
So
that's what I would yell every time Timmy died in this game.
We're gonna need another Timmy. Yeah. It's essentially he gets this battle suit, this prototype battle suit, and these gloves. I guess he could shoot like lasers from his fingers or something.
Laser beams.
Yeah. But that's pretty much. There is a story in the game.
Yeah.
The really cool thing about this game is that it was the first really, really big like homebrew game that was put on a cart back in the day.
Right, for 2010.
Yeah, it was pretty early. Like nowadays you hear about a lot of homebrew stuff, a lot of stuff that's getting made for the NES,
There's a lot more dev tools out there to make it easier for people to do that.
Definitely, but this game was created by Sivak Games or Sivak, whatever you want to call it.
One dude who did the game and
the
soundtrack.
The soundtrack, almost everything. So he partnered with a publishing company called RetroZone, who you may or may not have purchased stuff from. You can still pick it up today, I believe. It's on the website, on RetroZone's website. That's how I got my copy.
Along with the sequel.
Yep, there's a sequel for the game as well. It's called like Battle Kid 2 Mountain of Torment. So if you like Mega Man, I think you'll really dig this game. It's very difficult.
But you have unlimited lives too.
Yeah, you have unlimited lives, so
like
you don't
Meat
have to
Boy.
worry
It's
about
one of those
dying.
games where you have to find the right path to get through each level.
Yep.
Soundtrack-wise, it's very reminiscent of Mega Man, but I have this, the NSF for this game, the Nintendo soundtrack file, along with all my other game files. So I kind of listen to them all at random once in a while.
Sure.
Whenever one song from this game comes on, like mixed in with everything else, it kind of stands out because the melodies sound to me like much more modern than a lot of the more classic NES soundtracks do, even ones I'm not familiar with. For some reason, like a lot of the melodies he uses, like just sound like they sound classic, but they don't sound like they were composed in like the 80s or 90s.
Yeah.
So while it sounds like Mega Man, I love the fact that he took a little bit of a more modern aesthetic with the music. Just little like incidents here and there that kind of remind me more of modern stuff than the classic stuff.
I would say not modern for the word. The word that I would use is hollow. To be honest, I like the music from. I mean, I picked this track, so obviously I like the track.
Yeah.
But I always felt like it was missing something. Like when you listen to Mega Man music, the Capcom composers were just so like fond and of that NES hardware, and they knew how to rip it apart and provide like the absolute best possible sound that the NES could create. And here, what it sounds like is somebody forgot one of the melodies that kind of like is sprinkled in through the background of a Mega Man song.
I think he used one very sparingly, and that was the same channel that he used for sound effects.
Yeah.
So you didn't constantly keep getting like an instrument cut out in order to play a sound effect.
Yeah.
So he's probably conscious of that fact.
So yeah, I kind of feel like this track, even though I like it a lot and I love the melodies and everything, I kind of feel like the instrumentation is a little flat, it's a little hollow. But overall, it's a great track. And I love the drums, too, that when the drums kind of kick in, they have that totally, like, Mega Man sound. But then when the toms come in, like the doo-doo, you get those Mega Man flashbacks.
Mega Man 2.
It puts a smile on your face, so it's good stuff. I really like this track. So.
Yeah.
Sivak, he's a programmer, and he was the creator for the game, of course, for both games. He even named the development company after himself. So you're probably wondering where that name came from. He said it himself on his website. He said, back in junior high school, I was really into the Dungeons & Dragons Gold Box PC games, and in the Dragonlance series, there are enemies called Draconians, of which there are 5 types. Sivak Draconians were the ones I liked the best, so I've been using that as my nickname ever since I got on the internet. He said that he used Famitracker to compose the music for this game.
Makes sense.
So, yeah, but this game doesn't have any kind of digital release. This is kind of like pre-Steam. In a lot of ways. So, like, he never went and made the game for anything else other than the NES. So, the only way... it's kind of cool. Like, the only way you could play this game, aside from just downloading the ROM, is by buying the cart. Which is, like, mind-blowing to think about. You know, nowadays. Like, in the world of digital instantaneousness. You can only get this game through either ROMs or that.
Yeah,
so
you got to go old school. And I think for the sequel, he released a demo version in digital format.
Yeah.
Just like the NES ROM. And then you get to buy, if you wanted to play the full version, you had to buy the actual cartridge.
Right,
so.
right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, neat game. Fun times. What do you got for us?
Next up, it's a game I don't know too much about, but I really like the soundtrack for. It's a Japanese game called Ganso Kyukoku Girl Six Nin Adventure Mahjong Dial Q Wo Mawase.
What?
Yeah, this is Match Tune by Mr. or Mrs. Unknown Composer. All right, welcome back. That was Dial Q Wo Mawase, otherwise titled as Kyukoku Mahjong or Mahjong Lady. That was a kind of homebrew pirate. Actually, we both led off this show with like homebrew games, which is kind of cool. Although that came out on the Genesis in 19XDX, somewhere around 1991, 1992, we think. We don't know the publisher or the developer because none of that is credited on the game. We do know, through looking through the ROM, that the music is original, but it stole the driver that Noriyuki Iwadare made for Cube for the titles that he worked on, which is why it sounds so cool. Mm-hmm. I really love the groove in this song. There's a nice bass line. Those drums are nice and thick.
Yep.
And then it feels a little bit like... kind of like Sonic's Casino Zone or something a little bit.
I was going to say...
it gets a little heroic towards the end.
Yeah, it does have like remnants of Sonic a little bit. Especially like when all the instruments are kind of like all together.
Yeah.
It flows like a Sonic song.
Exactly.
It does, yeah. I love the PCM sample with the hey!
Yeah. Combined with the claps, like that sounds really, really cool.
I love that. That just, it's funny, like I'm listening to the track and I'm like, all right, this is okay. And then as soon as the hays come in, I had this like appreciation for the track that I didn't have before, and it made me love the beginning of the track even more. So it's like when it looped after the second hey, I like fell in love with the track.
So it
grows
grows on you.
Yeah, it totally like it went from like being a mediocre track to being like, oh, this is amazing.
It takes very little to impress you.
Hey, all you gotta do is hey at me. All you gotta do is catcall me.
Sweet.
Apparently.
I'm just gonna slip digital haze into every single track that I play from now on.
Here's a track from Capcom vs. SNK. This is terrible, Ed.
Hey.
Oh yeah? Well, listen to the track a little closer.
Way down, like I just put a hey in there.
Yeah, and I'm just like,
oh my
wow,
God.
this is really good.
So yeah, this game was pirated or hacked out of a ROM or a game called Mahjong Cop Ryu, but they added like porn stuff into it and changed the soundtrack and everything. It's called Dial Q Omawase because you have a phone. You start off with a phone in front of you, and you can move your finger around and dial the numbers, and you get different numbers from different girls or different services, and so you can kind of select which level you want to play by dialing their number.
Right.
And I guess then they come over and play Mahjong with you, and it's kind of like your typical adult Mahjong game where it's like strip Mahjong. So if you beat them, they take off an article of clothing, etc., etc.
It was basically Netflix and chill before Netflix and chill was the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Or Mega Drive and chill.
Mega Drive and chill. Mahjong and chill.
Yeah.
So did this, like, you're saying it's homebrew or it got like an official release?
It got a physical release.
Okay.
It was just one of those games that was not licensed. It was just a hacked game that came out. There are physical scans. If you go over to like SegaRetro.com, you can see the cover art and the actual cartridge art. It's got like very crudely drawn women on there.
Kind of like Rusty. Where, like, they're missing chins and missing...
Yeah, I mean, it's just very, like... You can tell it was, like, color scanned over and over again, so it got really blurry. Yeah. So, and the art's pretty good. I mean, the game looks... If you didn't know that it was a hacked ROM, you would think that it might have been something professional until the adult stuff started coming out. And then you're like, well, probably not.
What are all these white stains all over the game?
Yeah. But there's a good 5 or 6 tracks on the soundtrack, and I had a hard time picking which one I wanted to share because they're all pretty good.
Yeah.
And this isn't available like on the normal like Genesis VGM websites, so I kind of found it in like a darkish corner somewhere
dark and hidden.
So not many people have heard this one before, so that's why I kind of wanted to share it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I dig it.
So let's move from something that's extremely obscure to something that's a little more common.
Yeah, and something Sonic related. This is Sonic Boom, Fire and Ice. This is the 3DS game. Came out in 2016. It's based on the cartoon. And this is Scallywag Reef, and it's by Richard Jacques. Alright, welcome back! That was Sonic Boom, Fire and Ice for the 3DS, the 2016 release, and the track was called Scallywag Reef, and that was by Richard Jacques.
So a couple things about this track. First of all, I do apologize for the quality. This is a direct rip from the game. Mm-hmm. It's like 24 kilohertz mono, and there's no other version of this soundtrack available anywhere else.
Wow,
so
really?
I feel bad because it's a fantastic song written by a fantastic composer, and they completely they must have really ran out of space because they had to squish this music down really, really hard. Two, the file name on the cartridge itself is actually called Cutthroat Cove, so I don't know if that was called something else in a different region. Maybe. So if you're from Europe or something and you've played this game and you're not familiar with Scallywag Reef, you might know it by Cutthroat Cove. So
okay.
Those are the two things.
Yes.
Yeah. So why did you pick this track?
I just kind of found it by accident. Have you seen this cartoon? That's a dumb question. You haven't seen this cartoon. So Sonic Boom is a cartoon. It's got like a reimagining of the Sonic lore, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And
I know a little bit about it.
It's actually a really funny cartoon. There's a lot of like fourth wall breaking.
It's one of those that the kids will enjoy, but the people who grew up with Sonic will also
right. There's a lot of poking fun at Sonic fans in particular, which is really great for me because I like Sonic, but I don't love Sonic.
Right.
So it's like anytime I get the chance to make fun of Sonic fans, which, you know, I have 2 really close friends that are Sonic fans, like hardcore.
Yeah.
So it's always really fun to be like, hey, did you see that scene? That was pretty funny. And they get a big chuckle out of it too, because they're fans. So yeah, definitely recommend checking out the cartoon if you're kind of on the fence, but we're not here to talk about the cartoon. The game is a sequel to Shattered Crystal, which is another Sonic Boom game. Came out, got really bad reviews, which, to be honest, I played both games. Boom Fire and Ice is definitely a much, much better game than Shattered Crystal. Shattered Crystal is more like exploratory, whereas Fire and Ice is more like a Sonic game. The levels are shorter. You can kind of get through the levels much faster.
Like a 2D action platformer.
Yeah, with a little bit of explorative like elements.
Okay.
But Sonic Boom Shattered Crystal was like straight up like, you know, hunting and searching for way more stuff. Kind of like a little bit of Metroid kind of thrown in there, a little bit, not like...
Still 2D, though?
Yeah, still 2D. Both are 2D, right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Fire and Ice is really cool, and the music is great. I mean, this definitely feels, to me at least, like Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest.
Yeah.
Just really has that, like, pirate vibe to it.
Yeah, very mid-2000s, like, action movie, cinematic quality. Like
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, or my brother, like, used to love the soundtrack to that movie, The Rock. It was all about, like, Alcatraz.
Oh, yeah.
That soundtrack was really good. And it had, and it had music very similar to this, that driving beat with the orchestral violins over it.
Yeah.
You know, very kind of get up and go kind of a song. So this really reminded me of that.
My favorite part of The Rock is when Sean Connery goes, "You're the man now, dog."
Didn't they make a website based on that?
Yes, but that wasn't in that movie. That was Sean Connery, but a different movie. But it's just funny to think about, like, actors doing lines, like, in movies that they didn't do them in,
like speaking lines, right?
Yeah.
Not actually doing lines.
Oh yeah. Oh, no, definitely not. No. Sonic Boom. I don't know. It's a fun cartoon, and the game is pretty fun. So if you're looking for like a cheapish kind of game to hunt down, I mean, I'm sure it's like probably about $20. It's worth a $20 bill, I would say.
Cool.
It's worth checking out. But Richard Jacques, you may have known him from the Shinobi X track that we played, the PAL version, Sonic 3D Blast, Sega Rally 2006. He's done a ton of stuff with Sega, so he's kind of like their fallback guy. If they need a soundtrack, he's the man they go to. So, you know, he's done a lot of really great stuff. He's been inspired by Yuzo Koshiro, Sonic Team people. I mean, he's just, if they need him in a bind to create some fantastic music, they usually grab him.
Yeah, he did that amazing soundtrack for Metropolis Street Racer too, where Metropolis Street Racer also, where every like level had a different radio station with a completely different genre of music, vocal, hip hop, techno, whatever. And he just knocked every single genre out of the park. He's extremely versatile.
Yeah, definitely. No, he's a really solid composer
for sure.
All right, so moving from a new game to a newer game. What do we got next?
That's right. Sonic Boom is 2016. This is 2017. This game has been generating a whole lot of buzz on the internet.
Yes,
it was kind of a sleeper title that came out of nowhere, and it's fantastic. Halfway through it and loving it. It's called A Hat in Time. The soundtrack was composed by Pascal Michael Stiefel, and this is Mafia Town Scooter version. Take a listen. All right, welcome back. That was Scootin' Around Mafia Town from the game A Hat in Time.
Whee!
Came out on PC in 2017, just a few months ago, composed by Pascal, Michael, Stiefel. It was so hard to choose a track from this game to play. It's all so good. There's so much music too. There's 60 or 70 different full-length tracks in the soundtrack.
Grant Kirkhope did some tracks too, supposedly.
I saw both him and Graham Norgate associated with the soundtrack. I think because this was originally funded by Kickstarter, they did 1,000% of their goal.
Oh wow!
So I think that they were brought on as stretch goals,
guest composers.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know which tracks they composed or if they did anything at all.
Well, if it's Grant Kirkhope, it's probably going to have a dun dun dun
oh yeah. But he also did GoldenEye, so
and it's gonna have little Listen, I'm not knocking it. I love the music in Banjo-Kazooie. It's so fun to listen to, and this track as well was equally as fun to listen to.
Yeah,
it's
so
bouncy, it's catchy, it's good stuff.
Right. So every world that you visit, so it's kind of like Mario Galaxy. People compare this game a lot to Mario 64, right. Mario Galaxy, that style of platformer. You go to these different worlds, and each world has so many different levels on it, and the levels aren't they're all brand new levels, so you'll visit one map, but depending on which level you go into, that map will change significantly. Different boss in a different location, or a different set of things happening where you have to use the same map in different ways. And you're called Little Girl, but you have all these hats that you can wear. That's why it's called A Hat in Time. Yeah. Different hats give you different abilities. Eventually, you have a hat that can make you run really fast, and if you level that hat up, you basically get a scooter.
Very similar to Mario Odyssey.
Yeah.
In a way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You kind of power up a cap.
Yeah.
You don't really possess other things with it, but it's in that style of power up. And so when you get the scooter, the music changes in the level. So this is the music that plays while you're kind of scooting around on your little scooter.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more of an energetic version of the theme that plays in the first world, which is called Mafia Town. And Mafia Town's just kind of like this European location. All the characters look the same. They're all wearing blue suits with red ties, bald heads. They all speak like this. They're Mafia. Mafia does not take any guff from little girls.
Getting a Gravity Rush vibe.
Yeah.
To the Eastern, you're saying.
Oh yeah, for the music.
The music, but also the level design, the layout, it's all like Eastern European, French.
For the first level, and then it completely gets turned upside down for the next levels. Your hub world is this spaceship that the little girl was flying on. She was 5 light years from home, and because you're flying by Mafia Town, they want to basically they get a cut of everything that goes by their planet.
Sure.
So they come up and they try to get in, and they open up the door, and all the fuel from the ship gets sucked out. And the fuel is all these little hourglasses.
Right.
And the hourglasses act like Mario 64 stars.
Right.
So you've got to go around the level and collect all these hourglasses. But the hourglasses also have time rewinding capabilities and time rift capability. You can go into the past in different levels and stuff. Tons and tons of different ways to do variations on a theme from the level that you're playing. And all the music is it fits so well. There's techno, there's orchestral, there's stuff like this where it's just kind of like Eastern European or video game style music. There's retro stuff. If you haven't played the game and you have the means to, absolutely go check it out. You will have a blast.
I've only seen the pictures from some of the art, the promotional material, and I know that the little girl with the hat is, I've seen that. But then I see another, I think, girl. She has a mustache.
Mustache girl. Her name is Mustache Girl.
Her name's Mustache Girl.
And she starts off as friends with with Hat Girl, but then later on, not too far in, kind of becomes her arch nemesis.
Okay.
They both want different things. I don't know whether they team up again at the end.
She probably wants a razor.
Yeah.
Right.
No, well, she discovers that these hourglasses have the power to rewind time and stuff, and she wants to take advantage of that.
Okay.
But Hat Girl can't talk, so she can't express that she needs these hourglasses to get home. It's fuel for her ship.
She's mute, laying.
So so they kind of have this misunderstanding about these hourglasses, and that's why they kind of grow apart. But yeah, Mustache Girl looks like basically a Little Red Riding Hood, but she's got a blonde mustache. It's really.
Do they ever explain the mustache?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm only up to level 2, almost at the end of of level 2, so I haven't really gotten that far, and I don't want any spoilers on YouTube or anything.
Sure.
So, but a little bit about the composer, Pascal Michael Stiefel. He is from Switzerland, and he's got 17 years experience, according to his website, producing electronic dance music, as well as 12 years experience writing classical music and computer orchestration. So that's why I kind of picked this track. It's got a good kind of electronic, kind of bassy tone at the beginning, but then all that orchestral stuff comes in, and then you get those synthy tones. He blends things very, very well.
Yeah.
He's had a YouTube channel for a long time under the name Plasma 3 Music, and there he posts remixes of covers of tons and tons of video game OSTs like Outrun, Overwatch, DuckTales, Silent Hill. Like he doesn't stick to one genre or one era. He'll pick songs that he likes from all styles of VGM.
So like covers or remixes?
They're a little bit of everything. So he'll do like an orchestral cover of a song, but then he'll do a full-blown like remix of a song. They're all like top-notch quality. Like I've never heard of them before until this game came out.
Yeah.
But these remixes are like stuff that I would have downloaded immediately had I been introduced to them. So you definitely go check out Plasma 3 Music.
That's cool.
He's only got one other video game to his name that I can find. It's called IO Goes Home, which is a game that came out on iOS. And I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm probably going to throw it on my iPad pretty soon just to see what it's like.
Spoilers, he goes home.
I'm hoping. Be silly to call that if he doesn't go home.
Yeah, exactly. This game looks really cool. I might have to check it out. I know it came out on PS4 and Xbox One. And
did it come out on PS4?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
It did. So
yeah, I've got the Steam version.
Yeah, I'll have to. I don't know. I'm so far backlogged right now.
Yeah, I really think you will absolutely enjoy this game.
Oh, totally.
It's funny. It plays so well. There's even speedrunner timers, like they cater to the speedrunning audience.
Snap.
Which you can turn on and off if you don't want to do that stuff, but that just shows you how tight the controls are. Like they're building it for speedrunners. It's not one of those games where it's like, the controls suck, so I died. Like you made a mistake, it's because it's your fault.
Because it's your fault,
yeah.
Right.
So let's move on to our next track.
Yeah, speaking of my backlog, our next game is Ys 8. Lacrimosa of Dana on the PlayStation 4, PC, and Sony PlayStation Vita. 2017 was the year of release in the United States. Deadly Temptation is the name of our track, and this is by Hayato, Sonoda, and Takahiro Unisuga. Let's give it a listen. Oh, my balls! They've been wrecked! Ys 8, Lacrimosa of Dana was the game you just heard this track from. The track Deadly Temptation, and the game was released on the PlayStation 4, PC, and Vita in 2017 in the United States and North America. Hayato Sonoda and Takahiro Unisuga were the composers. And man, I have been dying to play something from Ys 8. I guess since I bought the game, and also since we did our Ys episode, our spotlight where we did the first 4 Ys games, and I thought to myself, oh my god, when are we gonna do, like, I was so impatient. I was like, I don't want to wait. Like, I want to play music from this game because it's so good and I have so much to talk about. So, Ys 8, I picked up the limited edition through NIS America and came with soundtracks and stuff, and I was like, you know what? I really want to play this game. I have such a huge backlog. I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to play through this game. I was really interested in it. So I sit down, I start playing it, and then initially I start panicking. I start getting worried because the game is, you're on a ship, and you're walking around, and you're playing as Adol, and, you know, Dogi is with you, but he's kind of, like, far off,
yeah,
like,
he's
doing
more of a
stuff.
Recurring character than he was in, like, Ys 3.
Right. He's more like backup. He's not really, like, a playable character, at least initially.
Yeah.
So I'm walking around with Adol, I'm talking to all the people on this boat, I'm, like, kind of like a crew member or whatever on this boat. There's this boat called the Lombardia. I'm walking around, and I'm like, oh my god, because you know how I get with games. I need a game to, like, kind of start relatively soon, and I'm walking around and I'm talking to these people, and there's like a ballroom thing gathering, and you're like, there's food and wine and all this stuff, and you're like, oh my god, is this game gonna get to the point, like, I'm beginning to regret my purchase.
Let me guess, the ship crashes, you wake up on the shore with amnesia.
No. Yes, no. You gave me so much, and it's so hard to answer in short words, so let me put it this way. A giant squid attacks your ship.
Okay.
And that's when this music plays.
Gotcha.
And so as soon as this track came on, I was like, oh, baby. I was like, here we go. We got some Ys.
So they're squiddly middlies instead of squeedly needlies.
Squiddly middlies. Very good, sir. You kind of don't beat the squid. You end up getting shipwrecked, of course. So that's why I was like trying to answer you. But you do get shipwrecked, so it is an Ys game.
It's inevitable.
Yeah, of course. And you land on this place that essentially is kind of like the Bermuda Triangle of islands. People can't get off the island, but they get, shipwrecked on this island. So Adol wakes up, runs around, trying to find everybody. Ends up finding a couple of the fellow castaways. There's this woman that he finds half naked, accidentally, named Laxia. And she's kind of like a stuck-up, kind of, like noble lady. And then you also meet this fisherman who's kind of crude, like, there's a lot of like crude jokes like farts and burps.
You're basically
and
describing
like
Lost.
Yeah. You meet this fisherman named Sahad, and they're basically your two people that you meet that you fight with. So you could switch between the three characters. You could only
Sawyer and Kate from Lost.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't seen Lost, but
all right.
Sure, yeah. So you're running around, killing stuff. The gameplay and the control is so fluid. You're collecting all these various different items, but you can pretty much collect unlimited amounts of items.
Cool.
So you kill enemies, they get the items, and you can use the items to bring back to the captain, because you find the captain, you bring him the items, and you can make different other really cool stuff. Different outfits, different color costumes, and all sorts of stuff. Essentially what you're doing is you're trying to hunt down all the members of the Lombardia to kind of gather them up and bring them to this like small little...
Just kind of organize something.
Yeah, like organize
everybody together, track everybody down.
Exactly,
make sure everybody's safe.
Yep. And so that's where I'm at, is basically... there's all these recurring dreams that Adol has, so whenever the party goes to like a safe place, they set up camp for the night, and then Adol starts having these weird dreams about this woman, Dana, who you don't really know that much about. All the, stuff is very vague, all the cutscenes are very vague. I'm about like 9 to 10 hours in. I've met the fourth cast member, or the fourth playable character named Hummel. It's kind of like a brooding, like, I can do everything myself. Don't worry about me.
Yep.
Like one of those types of characters. But, anyways, long-winded story. The game's great. Definitely recommend it highly. I cannot recommend it enough. It's probably going to be my game of the year, to be honest. It's
cool.
Really, really cool. Musically, this is my bread and butter. This is my jam.
Yeah.
This is my peanut butter.
Bit too fast for me. I do like the slower builds, like that part with the like the tapping guitar chords, but it's like in the background, it's like da 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 da. It's like getting higher and higher, and kind of building slowly. I really like that part.
Yeah.
But then when it gets into that really fast kind of blast beat, it loses me a little bit. Like I know that's the stuff that you love.
Sure.
So I'm not trying to saying it's bad or anything. It's just not my cup of tea. But musically, I mean, sonically, like Team JDK is amazing. So instrumentation, the production quality, everything is fantastic. As a boss battle, especially a first boss battle to get you into the game, like, this is a fantastic track to do that.
And there's not a lot of the tracks are very high tempo, very it's ease. So you're gonna expect this type of music to be in the game, but there's other tracks that really surprised me. One of the tracks is like a very pop punk anthem-y type track, which is the track that you hear for the most part in most of I'd say 5 to 6 hours of the game.
Cool.
But there's a lot of really cool stuff. It's a very full-bodied soundtrack that has a lot of really cool tunes. So if you listen to this track and you're like, I'm not really a metal guy, definitely check out the rest of the soundtrack, because if you like retro stuff, you'll most likely find something in there that you love.
A lot of variety.
Yeah. So, the Team Falcom guys that did this, Hayato Sonoda and Takahiro Unisuga. Hayato did some other Ys games, Ys Memory of Celceta, Ys 1 and 2 Chronicles, I believe that was the PSP release in 2009, Gurumin, A Monstrous Adventure, Ys Origin in 2006, Xanadu Next, and Ys Oath in Felghana. So he took on the role of the main Ys composer after Ys 4 wrapped up, essentially. Yeah, Ys 4 and Ys 5. And then Takahiro, kind of same thing, he jumped on a little bit after Hayato. Xanadu Next was his first game with Sound Team JDK, and he did all the other games that I mentioned of the Ys series. So, good stuff.
Veterans.
Definitely Ys veterans. All right, what's next?
Next up is a little-known game for the Sharp X 68000 called Q2, and this is the Serious Mode version of the game.
Serious?
Yeah, this is Stage 1, again, coincidentally, by Mr. or Mrs. Unknown. Serious Unknown. Alright, that was Stage 1 from Q2 Serious Mode. Released on the Sharp X 68000 in 1993 from Panther Software. The composer is uncredited, unfortunately, and I could not find who wrote
Mr. or Mrs. Uncredited?
Yeah, bummer, man.
You're striking out today.
Yeah, but it's cool stuff. I went very obscure today for the most part. I know, aside from like A Hat in Time, a lot of my games are pretty darn obscure, and so are the composers, evidently. I like the heroic feeling this one has. I mean, for a first stage, it's got a nice, like a kind of a moderate tempo without too much going on with it. Very heavy drums, which just put heavy drums on a song and I'll instantly like it.
Right.
But that lead melody it's kind of flat and kind of sad sounding, but it also plays kind of a heroic melody, so you feel like there's a purpose behind the track. There's like a sadness, but also kind of a driving forward at the same time.
You know what the problem with this track is? It's got Master System disease.
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
It's got that sad kind of sound to it, but it's also a heroic track, so it also kind of sounds uplifting.
Yeah, like a crying hero.
Right. One of these days we'll have to do a Master System episode so we can actually, like, you know...
We'll have our emo scale.
Yeah. On a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being kill yourself, 10 being kill yourself.
On a scale of Black Veil Brides to Marilyn Manson, how emo is this?
There you go.
Oh god. So I mean, this game is
serious.
It's half serious.
Please explain the serious mode.
All right. So the game is 2 games in 1. It's called Q2 because there are 2 different titles that are packed in with it.
And that's KU2, not. You're saying Q2, like...
Right.
When I hear Q2, I think like the
C-U-E
letter Q...
or Q-U-E-U-E or
Q-U-E-U-E-U-E-2. Yeah.
Yeah, it's KU2.
Okay.
And the 2 means that there's serious mode and there's comic mode. They're 2 entirely different games, developed by the same people at the same time. Comic mode would be like your Q-'em-up style game. They're both vertical shooters. Serious mode is obviously very serious, so it's got more of like a your typical cave arcade style shooter.
Right.
The difference with this game is so you're this regular kind of sci-fi style ship, but you have these 2 like. I don't know how to really explain them. They're organic monster kind of things. They're like cone-shaped, and they have like lots of teeth at the front. So they're kind of like, I guess, like slugs or like leeches. Leeches, I think, is the best way to describe them. And if you fly into enemies, like fly onto the side of enemies so that these cone things touch the other enemies, they eat the enemies, and then they grow in power. They start changing color.
Okay.
So the way that you get these little cone-shaped monsters to like fire their like bomb, I guess you use them like bombs. You press another button, and they do like a spread fire shot or destroy everything on the screen. You get them to eat so many enemies, and they kind of power themselves up, and then they go back to normal color after they've released their energy.
Right.
So the whole deal is you've got to, destroy enemies at the same time as like getting close to other ones so that these little monsters can consume the guys that are coming at you.
So you have to change their diapers.
Kind of. I guess they eat too much and then they poop out bullets.
Do you need to make?
Yeah. You got a poo-poo in there?
Do you got to make?
So it's got a kind of a unique little gimmick going for it. Otherwise, it's kind of like your generic shooter.
Okay.
You get these little enemies that fly along the top, and then when you destroy them, they turn into power-ups, and then so you get like 3 or 4 different weapons: a laser, homing missile, your standard bullets.
It's a shmup.
Yeah, the music is really good. The graphics are decent. The Q-'em-up and the serious mode are both very different from each other. Aside from being more like both vertical shooters, they both have very different feels to them, even though they run on the same engine. And they're both great soundtracks as well. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about the people that made the soundtrack, but I wish I did. Panther Software was a Japanese video game and software company founded in 1987. They changed their name from Panther Studios Limited in 1987 to Panther Software in 1991. And they did games for the MSX, the Sharp X68000, and later on went to do some games for PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Xbox.
Ooh.
So the ones on the Xbox and stuff, they weren't very popular games. They did Brave Knight and Metal Dungeon for the Xbox. I think they were Japanese exclusive Xbox games, which were very, very rare.
Yeah. Well, the Xbox wasn't exactly marketed very well towards Japanese audiences.
Yeah, exactly. And they tried to put out these games here and there that just didn't work out. They did Space Griffin VF9 for the PlayStation, which I think had some media stuff behind it. But other than that, all of their games on their Wikipedia page, I've never heard of before.
No.
Previous to this, the year before this Q2 dual mode game came out, they released a game called Q2 Front Row, which was basically serious mode, but it was kind of like an earlier version of serious mode, so it didn't have all the features that serious mode did when they released the second version with comic mode. So this game kind of got 2 different releases, even though the soundtrack was the same. So you might find this soundtrack under serious mode or under Front Row, either way. But a lot of good tracks on this one. It was just one of those little obscure games that I've kind of been holding on to. We haven't done a shmup episode lately, so it's kind of been in my backlog for a while to play.
Sounds pretty
serious. It's pretty serious. Definitely serious. You got another kind of a serious game coming up.
Well, yeah, I guess you could say that. Speaking of games that also aren't pronounced the way that you would think they would, this is Zach, the Art of Visual Stage.
How else would you pronounce it?
I don't know.
X-A-K?
Zach. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, it's like xylophone.
Yeah.
With an X.
Exact. Exact.
From the producer of Gaming Linguistics, folks.
Yeah, exact. I don't know.
Well, it's Zach.
It is Zach, yes. The Art of Visual Stage. This came out on the Super Famicom in 1993, exclusive to Japan. This is Battlefield. That's the name of the track, and it's by Ryuji Sasai and Takahiro Nita, and it's been arranged for the Super Famicom by Hiroshi Amagi. Right, that was Zach. Zach, he's a Lego maniac. The Art of Visual Stage is the name of that game. Super Famicom 1993 was the year of release in Japan. Battlefield was the name of the track, and it's by Ryuji Sasai and Takahiro Nita, and arranged by Hiroshi Amagi on the Super Famicom. Zach is essentially if you took Zelda and combined it with Ys.
Yeah.
And made a whole new game. I mean, like, it plays like Zelda in the sense that you swing your sword or whatever, and it's top-down, kind of, sort of top-down for the most part.
It's a little isometric looking.
Yeah, a little bit. It's almost as if the level layout is top-down, but then it's, like, angled slightly.
Yeah.
It's weird, but it feels like Ys. I mean, you start off in a town, and you're running around, you know, it pretty much feels like the beginning of an Ys game, or a Zelda game, either one. But yeah, it's action RPG style game. Originally developed for, I believe, the PC-98, Sharp X68000, MSX2, and PC Engine all got ports of this game. I believe it was later re-released on Windows as well, and mobile devices fairly recently.
Yeah, this is a really popular ongoing series in Japan that never made its way over to the States.
No, never, yeah. So my buddy Paul hooked me up with, I bought the cart at Waterworld Expo, but I didn't know what I was reading, and I kind of wanted to check this game out, so he made me a repro board for the game. So I still have the Japanese board as well. But anyways, the track I love because it's very high energy. This track plays when you finally get going in the game and you're like fighting. So it's like similar to like Ys or Zelda, like Zelda when you get into like Hyrule Field, or you know, in Zelda Ocarina of Time or something like that.
Yeah.
It's the battle music that you hear as you're playing the game. You could save anywhere you want, and I definitely recommend when you start off the game, after you get all your weapons and stuff, definitely save right away, because you will die a lot in this game. It's very similar to Ys, where you just die and die and die. The funny thing is, you play as this character. His name is Latok Cart. So you bring the glasses to this girl Elise, who's like the childhood friend or whatever, and she gives the glasses to the mayor, who I guess is like her family member or something. He basically says, hey, you got a message from somebody. And it's this...
giant squid.
No, not a giant squid. It's a, like, fairy. And she is essentially... Her name is Pixie, or Lou Marie Pixie, or whatever. And she's like, hey, I heard that you are the chosen one, or you're... Essentially, there was this god named Duel. And Duel destroyed this guy named... I I think Badu or something like that.
So it's a basic like hapless hero, like wanders into a situation where he's got to save the world, and he's like, "How did I get myself into this mess?"
Right. But the funny part is she goes, "So are you Dork's son?" And I was like, "What?" So she's like explaining like, "Oh, well, you know, we're here because the king told me to come down to this town to find the descendant of Duel's spirit, basically."
Okay.
And so we were looking for Dork, but we can't find Dork because he left town, so we're going to take you instead.
Okay.
So his name's Latak Cart, but his father's name is Dork, so his father's name is Dork Cart.
Dork Cart. I mean, it's a fan translation, so it might have been like Doroku or something like that, and they just kind of anglicized it.
It's the same online though, so I think the names were legit. Dork Cart. Can you imagine
Dork
if your name was Dork Cart?
I don't know.
What would be the equivalent of Dork Cart? Like what if your name was Dork Cart? Or what if your name was like as bad as Dork Cart? Like what's worse than Dork Cart?
Geek Bike.
Geek Bike.
I don't know.
Nerd Jet. I don't know.
Nerdwagon.
Nerdwagon. Why? Like, why would they name him Dork? Like, I don't know. It must have gotten lost in translation. It must have been one of those things where, or it never got translated. But
it's just Nick Carney in disguise.
It's Nick Carney in disguise, absolutely. But I don't know. I just thought it was a really great track. I heard about the track first. Actually, I heard that Ryuji Sasai did the soundtrack to it.
Yeah, that's what interested me, too. Yeah. I love him.
You know, he's great, and I loved his stuff in Mystic Quest. He did Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, Final Fantasy Legend 3.
Bushido Blade series.
Yeah, and he's done some of the other Zack games as well, such as Zack 2, Rising of the Red Moon. Bushido Blade 2 he did some music on as well.
Yeah, he's kind of like a rock star. Like, he's in bands and stuff. He stopped composing for video game music a while ago to focus on, like pop music full time.
Rocking out.
Yeah. But he's a guitarist.
Rocking out with his dork out.
Yeah, he's a guitarist, and a lot of that shows through in a lot of his music. Between Tadahiro Nitta and Ryuji Sasai, I'm pretty sure that this is a Sasai track, especially towards that end with like that dynamic kind of like bass groove going on.
I love that.
And it's interesting hearing, because he wrote all the music for Final Fantasy Mystic Quest on his own for the Super Nintendo. It's interesting hearing his music written for something else, but then arranged for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of like, it sounds like him, but then there are parts where it's like, okay, I can definitely tell where like Hiroshi Yamagi might have like added his own flair into it.
Or Tadahiro Nitta.
Yeah.
Tadahiro Nitta worked on Shenmue. He did sound on that. Some of the other Zack games like Rising of the Red Moon, Zack Precious Package, The Tower of Gazel, and Frey and Magical Adventure CD Zack Gaiden in 1994. His last game was 2003. He did sound composition on Naval Ops Warship Gunner. And another game he worked on right before that in 2000 was Marionette Company 2.
Cool.
Yeah, which supposedly those have pretty good soundtracks from what I hear.
We'll have to check them out.
Yeah. But that is it, and that's all. So, yeah, go play this game because it's pretty cool.
Excellent.
Yeah, a lot of fun. All right, what you got for me?
All right, next up is a little racing game that came out in the arcade but never got a home port. This is called Dirt Dash. This is the city level. Shinji Hosoe composed this track, but Ayako Saso, Hiroto Sasaki, Nobuyoshi Sano, Takayuki Aihara, and Yuri Misumi also worked on this game. Let's check it out. All right, that was the city level to Dirt Dash. Came out on the arcade in 1995, published by Namco. Shinji Hosoe wrote this track. Ayako Saso, Hiroto Sasaki, Nobuyushi Sano, Takayuki Aihara, and Yuri Misumi also worked on this game, composing other tracks. This game, both in music and in gameplay, is like if Sega Rally Championship and Ridge Racer got together and had a little racing baby. You've got the Ridge Racer racing engine, but you're doing like rally style racing, so you're skidding all over the track and getting little directions from your co-driver and little arrows on the screen telling you where to go. But you're going through like cities and like back alleys and fields and stuff, so it's a lot more dynamic, I guess, than the Ridge Racer series, where you're pretty much just stuck on this highway going around in circles. You get these kind of like long winding roads. I feel like this would have been an excellent kind of like sequel to release on the PlayStation alongside Ridge Racer when the PlayStation launched, but they never ended up making a conversion, which kind of sucks because it's a really fun game to play.
This track reminded me a lot of like different elements of different, like the synths specifically really sounded like something from like Mega Man X4.
Okay.
Very like Capcom-esque era, kind of like a mix of like Super Nintendo meets like Zuntata type stuff or like Sega type stuff, especially when those organs come in, those Hammond organs. Those are really cool.
Yeah, it actually sounds a lot like the intro to Ridge Racer. So it's got a very Namco feel for me, but I know you haven't played that game that much, so you probably wouldn't recognize it. But Shinji Hosoe also wrote the soundtrack to the original Ridge Racer and a bunch of those sequels as well, so that influences, obviously, it's like, oh, I'm doing another racing game, may as well make it sound kind of the same.
Right.
But Ridge Racer, while it had this huge kind of like very, very house techno, a very aggressive style, this soundtrack is a little more, because you're not going as high of a speed, you're kind of gliding around corners and stuff, so they subdued the tracks a little bit, so you get to see a little more of Shinji Hosoe's mild side with a lot of the stuff on here, a little more jazzy.
It's Dirt Dash. Dirt Dash.
Dashing through the dirt.
So what about the other composers?
The other composers were mostly part of the Sampling Masters team. So they did stuff like Virtual On, a lot of those Namco arcade games that came out around that time, like Super Striker, something like that. One of those soccer games that came out.
Okay.
They all kind of worked together on a lot of titles. So I don't really have too much on most of them because their credits are all mostly the same. But as far as, Ayako Saso, she was Sampling Master Aya. Shinji Hosoe is known as Sampling Masters Mega. I kind of all know this off the top of my head. So a lot of these guys just kind of all worked on the same stuff. And then they also do stuff outside of video game music. So you get like Sampling Masters compilations where it's original music written by all these guys. Kind of like you might find like Sega Sound Team or like Zuntata. They would do like original
Konami
music.
Kukea Club. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So you'll get original stuff as well as like remixes and retakes on video game music that they've done over the years.
I think everybody has had a band,
kind
so
of an
to speak.
in-house,
Maybe Nintendo didn't. I don't think Nintendo Sound Team, I think there was something called Nintendo Sound Team.
I mean, they've done some live performances, but they haven't really. Nintendo hasn't, aside from like Koji Kondo, they've never really trumpeted any of their like music people. Maybe Kazumi Totaka and Hip Tanaka, but
a lot of them
they don't
left.
do as much as like the other third-party developers do.
Yeah, a lot of them took more of a backseat role too, and they really weren't doing as much musically. I mean, and Koji Kondo was pretty much the only guy that stuck around that was doing like a lot of stuff. I think Hip Tanaka left.
Yeah,
Nintendo.
right. He formed his own studio.
Right. And so, I mean, who else do you have other than him?
Well, from the original guys.
Right, from the original
not
guys.
Very many.
Not very many, right.
Yeah.
Music wasn't as big, too, in early Nintendo games. Like the black box type NES games,
Yeah,
I mean,
but you're not going to see
music, but
you're not going to see Nintendo doing live performances like a lot of the other, like Zuntata used to do back in the day.
Right,
so
right.
It's kind of unfortunate because a lot of the music that like Mario Kart Wii or Mario Kart 8 like would be excellent live.
Yeah.
Like they've shown off
Super
on YouTube.
Mario 3D World.
Yeah, those soundtracks being recorded in the studio, and it'd be really cool to see it all, kind of performed out there. So I don't know, maybe they do it in Japan and we just don't know about it. It doesn't get publicized, but it would be a really cool show to see like actual Nintendo musicians on stage and performing.
What's your dream concert as far as like if you could see any of those like groups like Zuntata.
Oh, I would love to see like the original Zuntata lineup with Hisayoshi Ogura and all those guys doing like Daddy Mulk and the Ninja Warriors soundtracks.
I gotta say the same,
and all that stuff. Raystorm, Galactic Attack, all those soundtracks. Just
that'd
fantastic
be cool.
stuff.
Yeah, that or Konami Kukeiha Club. That'd be really cool to see some like Castlevania.
Akihata and Kenichi Matsubara and all that stuff. Yeah, that'd be great too.
Or even Alf Lyla.
Yes.
Or Capcom.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Sorry, we're geeking out here.
We're all VGM fans. I'm sure they love it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our next track, which is from De Blob. 2008's Wii release. It's also out as of the 14th of November on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which is weird.
Oh, neat.
The fact that's
like a remastered version?
Yeah, like a remastered version of the game. Yeah. Cool. The track is called Revolutionary, and it's by John Guscott. Alright, welcome back. That was De Blob. Wii 2008 release, PlayStation 4, Xbox One 2017. The track was Revolutionary, and that was by John Guscott. And that was the name of the track, Revolutionary. Not that the track... Well, the track
was revolutionary.
The track wasn't, like, revolutionary. It was a nice little samba track. You know, here's the thing about the music in this game. It starts off very quiet. So I kind of have to explain what the game is. The game is like a platformer puzzle type game.
Right.
You're going around as this character named Blob. And you're going through this place called Chroma City that's been invaded by a corporation called the Inked Corporation. And so Blob is kind of like the means to an end. He's the tool used by this group called the Color Underground. They're all these like colorful, kind of like revolutionary characters that are all like fun looking and different colored. And they essentially are helping Blob with repainting all of the town with color. So all the worlds that you go through are all black and white, all like colorless, like gray, very, very drab looking.
Yeah.
You have to kill these guards, and when you kill the guards, you get you get a different color paint depending on which color you kill. So if you kill a yellow guy, you get yellow paint and your blob turns yellow. All you have to do is walk around and touch stuff. And when you do that, it lights up everything. It completely repaints everything in color. You can get different style things too to like give like different vibes to the visuals, more like a skater punk kind of look.
Different textures.
Yeah, different textures essentially. The music kind of fills in slowly as you are recolorizing the world. So you start off like slower, and then as you...
Well, you would add musical tracks. So like just be percussion, then you would add the bass, then you would add like, one melody line, then another melody. So it kind of builds itself. The more color you have in the level, the more instruments.
Right.
I think each color is one instrument or something like that?
Yeah, each color is one instrument. So like, for example, if you choose brown, it's the record scratch.
Yeah.
So every time that you paint a building, it does like a cool record scratch with the music.
Right.
So there'll be a backbeat for or like a very soft backbeat as you begin each level, but then the tempo rises and the music starts getting more funky, more like vibrant, and as you paint the level, the music kind of fills in.
So by the time you're done, you're listening to what we just played.
Right.
That's like, the
pretty much
the end fully colorized level.
Yeah.
It's called Revolutionary, I think, because it's got a very Cuban feel to it. So it's got that whole like Castro Guevara like revolutionary vibe to it. I just picture like a hot Savannah night, people dancing.
Oh, definitely.
Lights everywhere.
Miami, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely like totally like Cuban,
Gloria
Spanish.
Estefan kind of feel.
Yeah. I love this type of music. I mean, it's very fun to dance to. It's fun to vibe out to. It's fun to drive to. It's just all around really awesome music.
Josh and Emily are actually big fans of this game and this soundtrack. They talk about it a lot on VGM Jukebox. So if you're thinking you might have heard it somewhere else and you're a listener of that show, that's probably where you heard it from. Yeah, I'm a big fan of this one too. I got it when it first came out on the Wii.
Same here.
And we played it quite a bit. Because we were really into like Katamari, like that style of game, and it has that kind of a feel to it.
Yeah, it does have a Katamari feel to it.
Not in gameplay, but in like I don't know, game feel. I guess
the
is the best way
the vibe is very like Katamari. It's like American Katamari.
It's like a procedural puzzly kind of a game.
Yeah. I got honestly kind of bored with it initially, but recently I picked it up. I did like a buy two get one free at a local game store, and so I picked up DeBlob 2 and I saw DeBlob 1, so I got that one for free. So I started playing through it again. I recently played through it on Mike Tendo Plays on the YouTube channel. And, not a lot of people watched it. It's not a very popular game, but it was a lot of fun to play. Mm-hmm. Just sit down and, it's what's really nice about this game is it's really chill to just sit down and color. It's like if you're an adult and you kind of look back on those days when like you could just like sit down and you had your coloring book and you would just it's a nice like de-stressor. So if you're that type of person where like doing like adult coloring books or anything like that like kind of calms you or is like very serene, calming, you may want to look into this game because that's really all you're doing is just coloring technically.
Yeah.
You're jumping around too, like the controls aren't like really terrible or anything. They're not like super motiony. You jump by using the Wiimote.
But if you get the remake, then you'll be using a standard controller.
Yeah, then you'll be using a regular controller. Yeah, that's true. So, I'm interested to see what they include in the remake or the reimagining or whatever it is that they're coming out with. I guess.
Plus, you'll be coloring in HD.
Yes. True that. So, John Guscott did mostly like franchise type games. First game was Zapper, One Wicked Cricket in 2002, but he's done Disney's Lilo and Stitch, Trouble in Paradise, Fairly Odd Parents, a couple games for them, Bad Boys Miami Takedown in 2004, Pac-Man World 3 in 2005, did some Nickelodeon stuff with Nicktoons and SpongeBob, then 2008 he did The Blob, he did The Blob 2 in 2011, and that was the last game that he did.
Right on.
Yeah. So what's up next on the free picks?
Next free pick from me is Drinky and Smoky. This one is another kind of obscure Sharp X68000 game. I've kind of gotten back into going through a lot of these X68000 titles I have. This is called Smoky Blues, composed by Noboru Matsuoka. All right, that was Drinky and Smoky. That was the Smoky Blues from Noboru Matsuoka.
Hey, you want to do the rest of the break sounding like this?
I think we'd probably blow our throats out.
That'd be worth it.
No, let's do it then. Came out on the Xbox. Not the Xbox, that other box.
You're drunk.
The ShopX 68,000
Have
box.
another beer.
Yeah, it came out in 1994 when I was 89 years old. So this is a game where I do have the actual composer named Noboru Matsuoka, but I don't know anything about him because this is the literally only place I've ever found his name before.
You are just
incontinent?
Yes.
Just incontinent, just pooping everywhere. It's all that drinking and smoking I've been doing.
Oh boy.
But I love this track. It's so much fun. Those runs are so tight and crisp. The instrumentation is really good. It's got two distinct kind of parts to it, and they both sound really cool. What was your take on this one?
It's got that like 20s Disney vibe.
Yeah,
I
think so.
If this was in a Disney cartoon, I could totally picture that.
Yeah. I like the little note bends that kind of give a little bit of a flair to it. Kind of shows that he knows what he was doing. A lot of this soundtrack is pretty much the same. It's got a very 50s, like 30s, 40s, 50s vibe to it.
Rockabilly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. The game is about two little characters, Drinky and Smoky, and it's a puzzle game. So, kind of like Lemmings in a sense, I guess. So, you've got your character, and there's a series of like metal girders or logs or whatever the theme of the particular level you're in. And you've got certain things that you can drop. So you can drop a little like turnaround marker or a little stopper or like a platform. And basically you have to place everything on the level while he's standing still. Once you've placed everything, then you can hit the go button. And then he'll walk. And then depending on what you've put down, he'll either walk from the level. He's got to walk through the level and collect all the whiskey bottles and get to the goal. So if you get to the goal without collecting all the whiskey bottles, you don't win. If he falls off the level, you don't win. Et cetera, et cetera. So it's basically a puzzle game. You got to set things up with the limited amount of things that you have. Once in a while, his friend Smokey will appear, and you can collect all the bottles with Drinky, but get Smokey to the goal, and then you also win. As long as the combination of two characters collect all the items and get to the goal, even if the other one dies, then you still win the level. So
do you collect cigarettes as well?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far yet. I've gotten to like stage like 5 or 6, and there's like 4 levels per each stage. But they've all pretty much focused on Drinky with collecting the whiskey bottles. So I don't know if eventually it gets you like Smoky only levels. This is called Smoky Blues, and there were some songs called like Drinky something. So I think they each have their own kind of themes depending on who's the main character.
Okay.
But this is a song you play once you hit go. And then the character will start walking. And so then you get some like incidental music here and there, but there's like 2 or 3 main stage themes, and they've all got this kind of cool 50s groove to it. Just one of those stupid little games on my hard drive that was in this huge collection of X68000 titles. I found I'm like Drinky and like, what could this possibly be? So, I emulated it and played it a bit, and I was like, oh, this is fun, and I really dug the soundtrack.
I'll tell you what it could be. Your future.
My drinking, smoking future.
Oh, boy.
Nah, not doing those cigarettes anymore.
Another 100 episodes. Oh, get me a drink. Okay, then. Well, Drinky and Smoky.
Drinky and Smoky.
Speaking of Drinky and Smoky, mature stuff.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Fist of the North Star, Ken's Rage on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. This game came out in 2010, and the track is The Seven Scars by Masayoshi Sasaki. And this is
This will fist your North Star.
Gross. Oh. welcome back. Get your head back in check. Stop headbanging. That was Fist of the North Star, Ken's Rage. Xbox 360, PlayStation 3. 2010 was the year of release. And that was the 7 Scars. And I just want to clarify, Masayoshi Sasaki was the sound director. Haruki Yamada was most likely the composer on this one. Haruki Yamada has worked on mostly Musou games, Samurai Warriors, Warriors Orochi, Dynasty Warriors, Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
They all have this very similar hard rockin' sound.
Right. Masayoshi Sasaki, I believe, he's mostly done like sound direction with, as far as composition and music goes, he's been like a musician on like the Warriors Orochi 3. And also he did the music for Destrega, which is a really cool arena fighter on the PlayStation 1.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yep, good game. And yeah, so what do you think of this one? You were kind of rocking out.
This track is burned into my brain. Like this brought back really good memories.
Okay.
I love this game. I 100%ed this game. So I mean, I instantly recognize that. Because it's. I think this plays on like the menu. It plays while you're like running through a lot of the generic kind of levels.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not my style of music, but it's one of those just tracks that I've heard so much that I know every single note. I know where everything goes.
Right.
So it's instantly kind of like a head nodder whenever I hear it. I haven't played this game in a long time. I got it when it first came out just because I'm one of those guys that tries out every single Musou game that comes out, and I just see what sticks. And I already was a fan of the, Hokuto no Ken, Fist of the North Star saga. So the combination of the two, I was like, that's a perfect combination. I can't wait to play it. And I loved it. So yeah, really enjoy this track. Definitely, lots of different dynamic parts to it. Slows down a little bit, gets a little heavier.
Yeah.
Comes back in with the screamy guitar melodies again. So lots of fun. Very much fits the pace of the game as well.
This track is years 2005 to 2009 for me. This was my type of music that I listened to. The music is mostly it's I guess you could call it metalcore. This is a little bit more pop oriented than traditional, like most metalcore type songs. Yeah, it's a little bit more melodic. This really sounds a lot like Killswitch Engage's The End of Heartache, which was a track that was on the Resident Evil Apocalypse soundtrack.
Yeah.
So this song really, really reminded me of that, and I really enjoyed that song, and I really enjoyed Killswitch back in the day.
Yep.
But yeah, I used to love this like metalcore, melodic deathcore, like that type of metal was right up my alley.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to hear a game actually have, that part of my 20s in it that I could kind of go back to and be like, oh, that's cool. Fist of the North Star, I don't really have that, in all honesty, I don't really have that much experience with. My very first experience to Fist of the North Star was, there was this arcade game. It was Fist of the North Star, but it was like one of those like punching bag games.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And,
you had to punch it as fast as you could.
Yeah. It was cool because like in the anime, there's a part where the whole point of the series is you play, there's this guy Kenshiro, right? And I think they just shortened his name to Ken in the US version.
They call him both. I mean, that's just his nickname.
Yeah. But Ken's got to defeat these opponents, and so you hear this stuff through these speakers in this arcade game, and so you start punching the punching bag, and then you all of a sudden have to like punch it really fast, and you hear Fist of the North Star, and then like this like loud like shing type thing sound effect.
So cheesy.
And then you just hear him going what, which was like his thing that he did. So that was my first like experience to Fist of the North Star. I knew nothing about Fist of the North Star other than that.
Gotcha.
I think afterwards I maybe downloaded the ROM for the NES game, which is not very good.
Yeah, no, it's like an action RPG.
It's like a really lackluster beat 'em up, like action.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You can jump super high in the air. Like it's really goofy.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. Everything I knew about this game was on a very surface level, and then when I found out that the two games got released on the 360, I was like, I have to get these games. So I picked them both up. I haven't sat down and played this one yet, unfortunately, but
it's a great way to experience like the storyline, like kind of like the Berserk game that just came out. It kind of like brings you through the origins of Kenshiro and Jacques and like Mamiya and all his Toki and all the people that he like kind of originally starts hanging out with, I guess. and all his enemies, and so you get to play through all of these kind of iconic moments of the manga and of the anime.
That's cool.
And then it kind of like leads you off into like the second generation of the heroes and protagonists in Ken's Rage 2.
Yeah.
Rage 2 wasn't as good. They really kind of... Like, there were full cinematics in the first one, and the second one, they kind of went like more of like a stop-motion, like comic book style cinematic, which I didn't appreciate as much.
Yeah.
So
sounds like they dumped all their money into the first game, and then when
it was a lower budget title.
Yeah, the first game probably didn't sell as well, so they were like, all right, we'll scale it back a bit for the sequel.
Well, they did that with all their games. I think they were going full cinematic. Koei Tecmo was.
Yeah.
Team Omega, and so at one point they just decided that unless it's a full-on Dynasty Warriors title, all the other titles are going to start like being scaled back, not having English voiceovers or anything like that. So they kind of like killed that part, which a little. I mean, I'd rather have the English voiceovers because while you're playing this game, just like the Dynasty Warriors series, you've got people shouting directions at you, or people like congratulating you or telling you that they need help. And if it's in Japanese, like you need to read the text on the screen, and while you're like slicing through millions of enemies, it's really hard to read at the same time. You'd much rather get those audio cues telling you, "Hey, go over to the northwest corner or whatever and kill these guys."
That was a complaint that I had about Berserk. Although I will say I cannot hear Berserk in English. Like I watched Berserk, the original anime, in Japanese, so like I believe they got the original voice actors for Berserk to come back to do the game. So I can't picture hearing Berserk in anything but Japanese. But at the same time, I'm like, oh man, like there's so much going on. Like I really need to just focus. So I don't know. But Fist of the North Star is in English.
It's if I recall, the original one is in English,
and the second or
Japanese. You can choose.
Okay, you could choose.
And then the second one, I think, is only Japanese.
So
don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure the first one is at least
probably
English dubbed.
Stick with Japanese then, because it's always weird when they do that. When it's like the first game.
If you want a consistent experience between the two games, then pick Japanese.
Japanese, right?
Gameplay is easier in English just because of what I just said.
Yeah.
But either way, it's a great way to kind of experience the story. If you don't want to go through the whole anime series, you want some interactivity with it.
Yeah, I'll probably dig this.
And even if you don't like, even if you don't like the Musou games so much, this one plays more like a beat 'em up than a hack and slash.
Right.
And it plays like if you're a fan of like games like God Hand, you'll really enjoy this.
I do love God Hand.
So it's got that really over the top kind of beat 'em up quality to it.
I'm gonna love it.
You're gonna enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah. All right, what's your final track?
Final track is Waterworld, but not the SNES version everyone knows.
Oh,
there was an unreleased Genesis version that also has a really good soundtrack. This is Shop 2 from that game by guess who? I don't know.
Mr. or Mrs. Unknown.
My third unknown of the day. All right, let's take a listen.
That's strike 3, you're out.
Well, it's a good thing it's my last track. I can just go out on it.
Yeah.
All right, Waterworld, Shop 2. Let's take a listen. All right, clean all the dirt and grime out of your ears. That was Shop 2 from Waterworld, unreleased on the Genesis in 1995. At least it was going to be released in 1995. That's what it says on the title screen.
Thank God it didn't. Well, I mean, it's kind of a bummer because of the soundtrack.
Yeah, I haven't actually played this game. I've only heard the soundtrack. So I don't actually know if the game is decent or not. I mean, I know that the Super Nintendo version was not that great, and I know that the Virtual Boy version was not that great. So I can only assume...
I'm going to fight you on that one.
What, the Super Nintendo version?
Yeah, I actually really like the Super NES game. I mean, it only came out in Europe.
Yeah.
I think it only came out in Europe. But aside from some fantastic music by...
Dean Evans.
Dean Evans, that's right. It's a pretty cool little, action game.
Cool.
Yeah. That's not bad.
I haven't had too much experience with it, but I've heard from other people that they don't like it, so...
No, it's not a very, good game in the sense like a traditional good game. It's more like a very generic kind of game.
Yeah, but is it one of those games where you wouldn't play it so much if it weren't for the soundtrack kind of deals? Like Super Adventure Island with me?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, the soundtrack definitely helps because the soundtrack is great in the Super NES version, but if the Genesis game's anything like the Super NES version, you're playing as the main hero in Waterworld, Kevin Costner, who's playing Kevin Costner.
You're right.
He's not the Mariner or whatever his name was. The Oceaner.
The Mariner.
It was the Mariner?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. That movie, Kevin Costner's playing himself. Yeah. It's all like a unique, self-biographical story.
I see.
Yeah, and Dennis Hopper comes back from the dead.
Oh.
Yeah. But you're playing as he is the Mariner. You've got the ship, and you're riding the ship all over this map, and as you're doing that, there's these really frustrating isometric shooter.
I'm looking at YouTube footage of the Genesis version now, and I think it's very, very similar.
It's probably a port of the Super NES version.
Yeah, just with different music.
Oh, but that's probably the worst part. Is you're shooting these little pellet BBs at all these targets, and they're very, very difficult to hit. And then when you move into the actual gameplay, it's for the stage, it's a side-scrolling game where you gotta go swim underwater, grab this, these various trinkets and doodads and whatnot. The thing is, you gotta know what you're grabbing. I think you're going after sand or something. No, urine.
Yay! Well, either one. Why the hell?
There's something in the movie where there's something that's really highly
fresh water.
No, I don't think it's fresh water. There's something that you collect in the movie in the game that in the movie it's very a lot of people really are trying to get it. I don't remember what it is.
Spice.
I don't know. Maybe.
Dune.
Oh, Dune. Yeah, spice.
So I'm looking at some footage on YouTube right now of the side-scrolling levels, and the protagonist has he looks kind of like Kevin Costner, but he's got blonde long hair.
Yep.
And as he stands there, his hair is constantly blowing in the wind.
Yeah. Yeah. It's you know what it reminds me of? Realm. Do you remember that game that we played the track from Realm? It kind of reminds me of that.
Okay, so this must be just pretty much a port of the SNES version then, if they're that similar.
That's what I'm thinking.
Very interesting, except with very different music. So, yeah, I mean, I like the soundtrack. There's some very techno tunes. This one's a little bit slower paced.
This one
doesn't feel like a shop track to me at all. It feels more like a, I don't know, cinematic or...
Gauntlet 4. It reminds me of that Gauntlet 4 track that you played. Very, dirty and grimy.
Very, very grimy.
Dingy.
And, I reached out to Matt Furness on Facebook because he was doing some other games for Ocean around this time.
Okay.
And I was like, well, if anybody that I'm in contact with is going to know who composed this game, he would. But unfortunately, he didn't know either. So at least it wasn't him.
Yeah.
Which kind of scratches one name off the list.
It doesn't sound like a Matt Furness
No,
track.
It doesn't at all. And that's what I told him. I was like, it doesn't sound like you, but who knows? It doesn't sound like Dean Evans either.
No, definitely not.
The only other guy that I know off the top of my head that worked for them around this time was Jonathan Dunn.
Jonathan Dunn, yeah.
And his stuff, maybe, he's got that kind of a gritty style sometimes.
He did the Virtual Boy music, if I recall.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
And then he also did one other Genesis soundtrack, and that was Addams Family.
Okay.
For the Genesis, so it's possible.
Maybe Jonathan Dunn? I don't know.
Question mark.
I reached out to Jonathan Dunn I don't know.
I think we both did.
Yeah.
He never got back to us.
No. Oh well.
Maybe if he ever does, we'll be able to ask him about Waterworld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wah.
So yeah, this is another one of those little gems that I've been listening to for a while that I haven't gotten the chance to play.
This was also supposed to come out on the Saturn, and it probably would have had like a bunch of movie clips, if you wanted to watch that terrible movie.
It would have been cool if like Dean Evans did like a Red Book audio soundtrack
that would
for
have been
Saturn.
sick.
Like Red Book, like real synth versions of the SNES music. That would have been really cool to hear.
Yeah. I agree.
Me too.
Yay.
Alright, so that's all I got for Waterworld.
That's the free picks for this time.
Yeah.
The super free picks.
So because we kind of didn't do it at the beginning of the show, we do want to thank Joe Dunbar, Alex Messenger, and Scott Mcelhone. McKellen. I think we settled on McKellen, but we're gonna leave that up to
McDonald's?
Scott to tell us. Tweet at us or Facebook us and let us know how to pronounce your last name so we can do a clarification corner during our next episode. Thank you for submitting your Pixel Chat questions. Please, if you have questions for us, send them over to pixeltunesradio@gmail.com with PixelChat in the subject, and we will answer your questions on a future episode.
And question in the body of the message.
Yes.
And that's it. We'll just read question.
We'll just read the question. Question. And we'll just say answer.
Answer. Yes.
So, yeah.
Facebook.com/groups/PixelTunesRadio, where you can access a very lively community full of VGM enthusiasts such as yourselves. And we can talk about all sorts of wonderful video game and video game music related things.
And how bad Waterworld is.
Yes.
The movie.
Yes.
And maybe the games.
And how to pronounce Zach. Exact.
Yes. And Q2.
Yes.
And all the
Q2.
other stuff that we've been... And Ganso, Kyukoku, Girl 6 Nin Adventure Mahjong, Dial Q, Wo Mawase. I can't even say that in one breath.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's what she said.
I'm just going to go with Dial Q, Wo Mawase. Episode 101. In the books.
In the books.
Traveling on towards more 100 era episodes.
Yes.
What do we got coming up next? I don't even know.
We do have something very cool. We're going to be doing a Final Fight episode, and it's kind of fitting that our second episode of the second chapter, I guess you could say, of Pixel Tunes is beat 'em ups, because our second episode was beat 'em ups.
True.
So we're going to continue with that, and nobody really talks about the music of Final Fight. Like, sure, the first game, people talk about it, but nobody really dives into the whole history of the franchise and plays a bunch of tracks.
Yeah. And Final Fight characters have shown up in other games, too.
Yeah, that's true. So we want to kind of tackle the Final Fight universe and all of its games, and maybe some surprise appearances from where the characters ended up in various other Street Fighter themed games and whatnot.
Sure.
So yeah, it's going to be cool. We're going to have a special guest. It'll be a lot of fun times.
Yeah, I think you guys can probably guess who the special guest is, but we'll leave it a secret until we release the show.
It's your mom, right?
She loves Final Fight.
Yeah.
She actually modeled for Roxy when,
did she?
when
Really?
they made the game.
At least she didn't model for Poison.
Yeah.
That'd be weird.
Yeah. Anyhow, now I'm shuddering with horror.
Or delight.
If you guys still want to listen to the show, you can check us out on Twitter at PixelTunesRadio or Mike's YouTube page.
YouTube.com/dongled, where you can check out this and all the other episodes in a video capacity. And also, dude, you haven't played this game, Gaming Linguistics, Noob Repair, you name it.
Everything Mike Tendo.
Everything Mike Tendo. You got it. And
even
then, of
his
course,
underwear.
Yeah, even my underwear, I think. And you can also listen to Impulse Project, which is Ed's side podcast.
Yeah, check us out at impulseproject.info, where Brian from Pixelated Audio and I talk about demo scene music from Commodore 64, Amiga, Genesis, Game Boy, a lot of the systems we talk about here, but composed by amateurs, not necessarily for video games, but still rockin' stuff.
Yes. All right. So that's it. That's all I got.
All right, we will see you in 2 weeks, boys and girls.
2 weeks.
Thank you for listening. Peace.
Bye.